Spice Mama, and today I am going to be making a pizza, and we're going to be using Ultima Frontiera and our pizza dough. So let's get started. First, I'm going to be using Fleischmann's yeast, some rapid rise yeast, and I'm going to proof it in my water. I got my water. I've used my really good water, and like chlorinated water, and I'm going to be proofing it 2/3 of a cup of water with a tablespoon of sugar. And it lets us proof our yeast to see if it's going to be bubbly. So we're going to just let that sit aside while we measure all of our other ingredients. We're going to use 2 cups of this pizza flour. This pizza flour is ultra sifted, it's ultra fine, and it makes a really nice soft dough that's pliable and easy to spread out. So we're going to measure 2 cups of this. This makes about 4 little 6-inch pizzas or 2 bigger pizzas, and we just got a pizza oven, so I'm excited to try that out. Let's see, we're going to measure in 2 cups, and you know, I always add extra flour, and it's kind of a by feel thing, so I'm not all that. A lot of people weigh out everything, and Spice Mama does stuff by feel. It's kind of an art. When you've been cooking for 40 years, you can do that, but people might have to weigh out their flours and things like that. I'm making a little bit of a mess here, but you can't see my countertop. So I got my 2 cups of flour and my Spice Mama's pizza crust. I always put a little putting a little Parmesan cheese. We put a little bit of the salt in it. Put about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. It just makes it taste better, gives it more flavor. I like to use Himalayan sea salt. It just, you know, seems better than the more commercial stuff. And then we're going to use a tablespoon of our Ultima Frontiera spice because it brings it that Italian flavor. And put right in the dough. Got a tablespoon of Ultima Frontiera. And looks like our yeast is ready. It's bubbling, it's proofing. So we're going to throw that in. And I need to put in a couple tablespoons of olive oil. I do 2 tablespoons. Just think about 1 tablespoon per cup of flour. That's a pretty good rule of thumb for olive oil in your pizza dough. And last thing is we're going to throw in mix up our yeast a little bit before we throw it in. Make sure it's all proofed. Put it in here. Getting the extra yeast off of it. And I use my KitchenAid mixer. It's just much easier with that. You don't need to do anything that fast. Make sure it's locked. And there we go with our pizza yeast. I'm going to stop this. Once the mixer is done doing its thing, I lift it up and I take the pizza dough out. It's nice and not too wet. And then I knead it, and I'll knead it a little bit on the pizza dough. We might add a little bit more flour to this. It's a little sticky right now. So you want to knead it because it activates the gluten proteins in the flour. And it's interesting because I do think there's something that happens with the oils in your hand and the dough. And so I do think that kneading it by hand is an important step when you're making dough, especially pizza dough. You really want to put a lot of love into it. You want to fold it over. And plus, it's also good for your hands. It's good exercise, especially if you've been sitting all day on the computer. You're going to keep kneading it. Sometimes when I'm making regular bread, I'll let it rest in between kneading. Give those proteins some time to work themselves up. You can feel it with the elasticity. You can see the dough is elastic. And it's a little sticky, which trying to like get out some of the stickiness. I put a little flour down in there. I gotta go turn off the video and get pizza schmutz on my phone. The next step is to set up your proofing bowl. So I use a bowl about like this. Put a little bit of olive oil in it because I don't want my bread sticking to the sides. It affects the rise of it. I don't want the pizza dough sticking to that. So I put a little bit of olive oil in it. Then I'm going to put my pizza dough in it, and I'm going to smush it all around, make sure that dough is covered nicely with the olive oil. That way, when it rises, it doesn't stick to the sides of the bowl. So we got the bowl right here. We're going to put a little clean dish towel over it, and then I'm going to go put it in a warm place to rise. And it's a quick rise, so it should take only about an hour for this dough to double in size, and we'll be back then.